We're here to talk about the conservative platform here in Canada that was released. Isn't it great? They released it after the advanced polls were closed. How ass backwards is that? So these people that potentially could have voted for the Conservative Party didn't actually know what the platform was. Right? And vice versa. If it had actually been a good plan, someone may have voted Liberal and then find out afterwards that the Conservative plan is great. But it's not great. It's a pile of shit. So we don't have to worry about that. So let's get into it. But I want to dive into what has happened in conservative policies in the Western world over the past several years that we could have learned from, but no. The Conservatives in Canada do not want to learn from any past mistakes of conservatives around the world. It is painfully obvious, the mistakes that have been made. So let's go and look at, for example, the UK. How many conservative prime ministers did they burn through? You had Cameron, May, Johnson, Truss, and then the last person lost the election. But everyone before that had to resign at some point in time. But Truss is the most embarrassing of all of the resignations. Because what Liz Truss tried to do was to put in a budget with a bunch of spending that could not be guaranteed to be paid for. And the reason it couldn't be guaranteed to be paid for is that they thought if they cut taxes, it will spur growth and that will give them the money for spending. Now, you can fool the general public with this, but she was not able to actually get this done. And within, I think, 44 days had to resign because the plan was batshit crazy. But who is it that really got in the way of her getting this done and caused her to resign? It was the bond market, because as soon as people saw this, they thought, I do not want to hold UK bonds, right? I will sell them. And when you start dumping bonds, what happens is the interest rate goes up. So then what happens for the government is that they now have to pay a higher amount of interest on their debt. The bond market, these are people that are loaning money to the government without a huge payback, but they are loaning money to the government based on the fact that the government is stable and they will be able to pay them back. As they saw this as an extremely risky plan, they either got out of it or they demanded more interest. Because the riskier an investment is, as far as something that pays interest, the higher the interest rate is. What did she say on her last day there as she resigned? She said, we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognize, though, given the situation, and the situation was that it was batshit crazy and the bond market was having none of it, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. So there goes Liz Truss, bye-bye. They tried their best to keep her in power, some people, but you simply cannot go to war with the people that are loaning you money to stay afloat. It doesn't make any sense. Let's move on now to my favorite topic of the last few videos. I think you'll remember in my last video I was saying it's always a good time to sell American securities, bonds, treasury bills, whatever, and the US dollar, as long as they have an idiot that is acting like a dictator as president. But let's look at the plan that Donald Trump brought into office. He wants much lower taxes. He made a lot of promises of lower taxes. I assume he expects growth from that. But maybe he saw how much of a dismal failure Liz Truss was. He brought another part into this. He said, we're going to pay for the tax cuts with tariffs. Now, for the American consumer, this is a bit of a joke because a tariff is a tax on the American people. So prices are going to go up. And if assuming they make enough money from the tariffs, he will lower your taxes. That plan, as you have probably seen, is not really working out, and I don't think they have any concept of where they're going to get the money for these tax cuts, because the plan for tariffs is a dismal failure at this point in time. It's not going to bring in those trillions of dollars that they want. Why? Because the bond market looked at the tariff plan and said, this is batshit crazy. This is going to stall the economy. This is actually going to reduce the revenue, if he goes ahead with this, that the United States government is going to get, because it's going to cause either a recession or maybe even a depression. And so they started to sell, which scared the shit out of Donald Trump, because that meant that the interest rates were going to go up on these bonds. And the United States can't afford that, because I don't even know how much debt they have right now, but it's ridiculous. I think it's growing by $2 trillion every year or something like that. They cannot afford if things go really crazy, they can't afford 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% interest on bonds. It'll be the end of the United States. So they're in a bind, and they're an absolute joke and laughing stock. So that's two jokes and laughing stocks. Now, the UK got off easy. She was only in power for 44 days, and they got out of their mess. The United States is in a mess that they cannot get out of. It's so bad right now that there is a movement, which is the Sell America movement. I'm not saying it's a political movement. I'm saying financially, people are looking on how to get out of the United States. If things don't change, if they continue to have a dictator calling all the shots, you have to get out of that market. That's how bad it is. Okay, so we know it was stupid to vote for Trump, right? We can see this now, how bad of a plan that was. Here is a story from the National Post. This is the headline. Conservatives promise over $70 billion in tax cuts and $34 billion in new spending, but no timeline for balanced budget. The vast majority, this is very important, the vast majority of the increased revenues come from a projected $20 billion in tariffs collected this year. I've read also that they expect growth based on the fact that they are cutting taxes. So it's a mixture of Liz Truss and Donald Trump. No one should be counting on money from tariffs, okay? We don't know where things are going in the tariff war, and we know from watching the states that depending on tariffs, the bond market is not going to be pleased with it, right? But here we have another conservative government saying, based on tariffs and tax cuts, we're going to have growth, we're going to have more revenues, and we're going to do these things. I'm calling bullshit on it. Now, if I thought that Pierre Poilievre was a very intelligent person who maybe could make something out of this, maybe my mind could be changed, but I've never seen a sign of intelligence coming out of him. And I don't mean that an insult to him, because I have a long list of conservative people around the world. We've got pretty much the entire Trump administration are morons, right? Everyone around Liz Truss that was supporting her was a moron. And so you have to just think what it really is at this point is that these people are dinosaurs. They are banking on things that have been disproven decades ago because they don't have any other ideas. Okay, so absolutely, I will not be voting for this. But everyone, well, I don't know. If anyone had actually watched my videos, you could see my anger with the Liberals and Trudeau in particular was at a fever pitch. I mean, they literally have come close to destroying this country. Unfortunately, the alternative that we have will surely destroy the country if they go ahead with it, and the bond market will get in the way, and it will cause major problems. That's my opinion on these ridiculous plans that are not costed properly at all. And the fact that the plan comes out after the advanced polling is an absolute joke. Okay. But let's look back. You know, the sad thing about this is that the Liberals deserve to be destroyed. But unfortunately, seeing that the Liberals were in bad shape and that there was a good chance that the Tories could win an election, they put out their absolute worst wing of the party. These are the idiots of the Conservative Party. They've always been the idiots. They always go around thumping their chest, acting like they know the markets and they know business, but they are morons, each and every single one of them. So they've given us no choice. So I have so much hatred for the Liberal Party for everything that they did that I've documented in other videos, and even more for the Conservatives who, instead of saying Canada really needs some seriousness here, they send out idiots and fools. Okay? How much of a fool is Pierre? Pierre went and sat down with the convoy, knowing that many of the people that were funding the convoy, that were behind the convoy and supported the convoy, were Alberta separatists. This is very well known. He knows this. Okay? He is an idiot, but he's not that big of an idiot, in my opinion. These are all opinions about who's an idiot and a moron, of course. You can't measure this stuff, and I don't know these people. But he did that, and this was an organization that was using economic terror against Canada, trying to shut down our borders with the United States. Sound familiar? And not only that, the entire thing, out of it came a lot of vaccine skeptical people, right? Look at RFK Jr. in the States, right? This stuff permeates the current right-wing, I don't even know what you could call it. These aren't platforms. It's just stupidity. It's just questioning science. You know, if you want to know, did the vaccine work? All you have to do, I'll try and find it. If I find it, there'll be a nice chart on here. But what you can see is that in the UK, they were going to hell with hospitalizations based on COVID. And then they rolled out the vaccine while they were opening up, and you can see that it absolutely plummets and it becomes somewhat manageable and people get back to living. And it's one thing to say, hey, you shouldn't force people to take vaccines if they want to cross the border. Didn't make any sense because to go to the States, you had to be vaccinated anyway, as far as I know. But it's another thing to say that the vaccines aren't working. There's been so much bullshit. I've seen on the right-wing side that people are afraid that we're going to have to eat insects for protein because there are these places that have opened up generally getting protein from insects. No one's going to take away your steaks and force you to eat insects. But I guess if you want that low-cost protein, like there's so many people that work out, they have like pure protein. Hey, that's a way to get it, I guess. I'm not keen on it, but I don't eat protein powder and all that crap. I've also seen complaints about, they're going to have 15-minute cities and we're going to be locked in them and we're not going to be allowed to leave. Like, it is absolute insanity and stupidity, and a lot of it is coming from Russian bots, right? Russia is absolutely, and as we've seen in the States, Russia has a lot to do with this. I mean, look at the way J.D. Vance, one of the biggest morons on the planet, in my opinion, treated Zelensky. It's absolutely disgusting. So all this stuff, it seems to be the same everywhere. And as a matter of fact, I got in arguments online with conservatives in Canada when Liz Truss put out her budget because they were saying this is brilliant, this is the budget they need. And I said, no, this is a budget that's going to fail and she's not going to last in office. And sure enough, she was gone in 44 days, but I don't actually know that. You can look it up. She was gone soon. So anyway, we have more of this moronic mentality here. Look at the UK. Look at the disaster the United States is in. Within a short period of time of Trump being in power, people are questioning if it's the end of American exceptionalism, right? And now we've got this guy in Canada. So in my opinion, it's time for Canada to put their foot down on all this garbage and to say, go back to the drawing board and figure out what being a conservative actually is, and then we'll consider voting for you. But there is so much hatred, and the Liberals were in power for so long, these guys may get in. I'm guessing it's going to be a rough time trying to get these types of budgets passed. I think that the bond market may balk at it, and I think it could cause even bigger problems for Canada than we are going to be experiencing soon because of the tariffs, etc. And don't forget, Canada, much like the United States, a tariff is a tax on you in this case. When he says we're going to get $20 billion in tariffs, that means you're going to be giving the government $20 billion in tariffs, and that's what he wants. So it's all a joke. Anything else to say here? I don't think so. I wish we had politicians that could balance things out, but it's all a popularity contest, and they screw us over every single time, it seems like. Good luck, Canada. I'm just looking out my window here, and I'm like, man, this country has really gotten bad in the last 20 years. I can't believe how much worse it's gotten. It's not getting better either. It's going to continue to get worse thanks to the idiot south of us. Anyway, vote for whoever you want to vote for. That's your thing. I'm just saying I couldn't do it. Have a good day. No matter who you vote for, good luck in this crappy economy.